Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. There is a beautiful sutta. I just happened to see that, and I selected that. Here you can learn about Buddha's own words, about the things that are appreciated by ordinary people but rejected by enlightened people. With Nagita Bante, Nagita is the attendant monk at that time, attendant monk of the Buddha before Ananda Bante. Anybody to read?
So I heard. At one time, the Buddha was wandering in the land of the Kosalans, together with a large sangha of mendicants. When he arrived at a village of the Kosalan Brahmins named Ichanangala, he stayed in a forest near Ichanangala. The Brahmins and the householders of Ichanangala heard. It seems the ascetic Gautama, Sakyan, gone forth from a Sakyan family, has arrived at Ichanagala. He is staying in a forest near Ichanagala. He has this good reputation that Blessed One is perfect, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. He has realized with his own insight this world, with its gods, Maras and Brahmas, its population with its ascetics and Brahmins, gods and humans, and he makes it known to others. He teaches Dhamma that's good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well phrased. And it reveals a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. It's good to see such a perfected ones. Then, when the night had passed, they took many different foods and went to the forest near Ichanagala, where they stood outside the gates making a dreadful racket.
Okay, sounds. Rejoice in your reading book. So you can see here for the first time, the Supreme Buddha has arrived in this city called Ichanangala, and the people heard about they had already heard about the qualities of the Blessed One, because Blessed One was traveling from village to village, from city to city, province to province, sharing these beautiful teachings for the first time, right, in this era. So the people learned about the extraordinary qualities of a fully enlightened Buddha, and there was that good reputation spreading all around. So because they knew the extraordinary qualities of the Buddha, they were really excited that finally the Blessed One has arrived in our village. So they all wanted to go and see the Buddha, even though they didn't know the Dhamma or the Buddha's teachings in details. They just wanted to go and see. They say it is good to see such perfected ones. That's how they made the decision to go. And you can see here all those qualities in we chant every day, like Diviso Bhagavarahan. The Blessed One is perfected, liberated Arahant. Samma Sambuddha, a fully awakened Buddha who realized the Four Noble Truths by himself without the aid of a teacher. Vidyacharana Sampanno, accomplished in knowledge and conduct. Supreme Buddha possessed extraordinary knowledge to see past lives of beings, to knowledge of karma and rebirth, how beings are reborn and die according to the karma, and the knowledge of the destruction of all defilements and taints, the knowledge to read others' minds, all these extraordinary knowledges. Buddha is accomplished in these knowledge. Sugato, the Buddha, another translation, well gone one. Buddha attained the path, the Noble Eightfold Path, discovered for the first time. And then following that path, Buddha attained the supreme goal, Nibbana. Lokavidu, Buddha is the knower of the world. Thus saw many worlds that cannot be seen by this ordinary eye. Buddha developed a special eye called divine eye, Dibbachakku, to see all these other worlds and how beings are reborn in those worlds, how they experience pain and pleasure, how they pass away from those worlds, how they are reborn somewhere else. So Buddha is the knower of the world, who is able to see all these things. Anuttara Purishadhamma Sarthi, the Buddha is the supreme guide, trainer for those who wish to be trained. Sattha Deva Manushana, Buddha is the teacher of gods and humans. Even gods are helpless beings in this journey of samsara. They also don't have a guide, they don't have a teacher who can teach them to end suffering. Buddha is the only teacher who can teach both gods and humans to find the path to end suffering. Buddha is the extraordinary teacher. Not only he realizes the Four Noble Truths, but also explains in great details so that other gods and humans can understand. Bhagava, blessed, the Buddha is the one and only extraordinary being who is so fortunate to hold all of these qualities. So that's the good reputation spread all around. And people were so curious about this, the appearance of an enlightened one in the world. So they all went to see the Buddha. And how did they go? They took many different foods like you. Like you go to see the Sangha, a dana. You prepare dana, you invite friends and relatives. So Buddha was staying in that nearby forest in the Ichanangala village, and there was maybe some kutis outside, or maybe there was a monastery or kind of an assembly hall where Buddha and other monks resided. So what happened? Because there were a large crowd there, they stood outside the gates making a dreadful racket. They were so noisy. It was so noisy. What happened after?
Now at that time, Venerable Nāgita was the Buddha's attendant. Then the Buddha said to Nāgita, Nāgita, who's making that dreadful racket? You'd think it was fishermen hauling in a catch. Sir, it's these Brahmins and householders of Ichantigala. They brought many different foods and they're standing outside the gates wanting to offer it specially to the Buddha and the mendicant Sangha. Nāgita, may I never become famous. May fame not come to me. There are those who can't get the bliss of renunciation, the bliss of seclusion, the bliss of peace, the bliss of awakening when they want, without trouble or difficulty like I can. Let them enjoy filthy, lazy pleasures of possessions, honor, and popularity. So may the Blessed One please relent now. May the Holy One relent. Now is the time for the Buddha to relent. Wherever the Buddha now goes, the Brahmins and householders will incline the same way, as will the people of the town and country. It's like when it rains heavily and the water flows downhill. In the same way, wherever the Buddha now goes, the Brahmins and householders will incline the same way, as will the people of the town and country. Why is that? Because the Buddha's ethics and wisdom. Nāgita, may I never become famous. May fame not come to me. There are those who can't get the bliss of renunciation, the bliss of seclusion, the bliss of peace, the bliss of awakening when they want, without trouble or difficulty like I can. Let them enjoy filthy, lazy pleasures of possessions, honor, and popularity.
Okay.
Thank
Remember,
you.
we were talking about the fact that the things appreciated and welcomed by ordinary people are not so welcomed and appreciated by the noble ones, the noble disciples, the enlightened beings. Isn't that what is discussed here? Is that what is described here by the Buddha? All right. Even Nāgitasutta, like Nāgitasutta thought that it's a rare opportunity for people to see the Buddha, and so Nāgitasutta repeatedly invites the Buddha, please accept these offerings, these gifts, oh Blessed One, because the Buddha's virtue and wisdom have spread everywhere. People like it. That's why they wanted to offer gifts to the Buddha. That's why they have come to see the Buddha. But there was one mistake there, right? There was one weakness among the assembly. What was the weakness? They were not practicing silence. So Buddha didn't want them to disturb Buddha's seclusion, the bliss of peace, bliss of awakening. And also, Buddha considered that happiness, that joy coming from those mundane things, like material things, or praise, right? Fame, honor, popularity, all these things are very mundane, worldly. And Buddha considered them as filthy pleasure, right? Think about this. Like ordinary people are longing for these kind of things. They highly appreciate, they welcome them. They find delight in these things. But noble ones find delight in, say here, bliss of renunciation. So these are the things appreciated by the Buddha, appreciated by the noble ones. The bliss of seclusion, right? Practicing meditation quietly. The bliss of peace, the bliss of awakening. These are the same things that are rejected by ordinary people, thinking they are miserable things. But when beings attain wisdom like the Buddha, they completely understand the true nature of the world. They appreciate what is worthy of appreciation. They reject what is worthy of rejection. I know ordinary people are confused. They don't understand what is happening, what is going on. Why doesn't the Buddha accept all these things? It's for the Buddha, especially for the Buddha. We are waiting here for hours and hours. The entire village is waiting here. Right? That's how ordinary people think.
Bhante, that's a gradual process though. I think when everybody's traveling in the Noble Eightfold Path, it comes naturally. Like 20 years ago, I would watch movies and listen to music, entertainment, but not anymore. I don't do any of that. So I think it's just a gradual process. The causes and conditions have to come together, right, in the journey.
But it's a gradual path, but the enlightened ones have compassion for people. The enlightened beings have to show the path. They cannot say, oh, okay, come this time. This is a gradual path, not next time.
No, but what I'm
Don't say like that.
wait, what I'm trying to say is, like, we change with time. Like, people go to entertainment parties and dancing, but as they follow the path, you give up these things and you
Yeah,
renunciate.
they give up after they listen to these teachings.
Yeah,
So
true.
how to
True.
teach? Buddha have to teach.
Yes.
One will understand that this material happiness is filthy.
Absolutely.
But
Only
isn't there also, Bhante, when I think about the wisdom of Buddha, and when speaking of popularity and how we've evolved over the years, when you think about the generational gap and how technology back in the day when I was in high school, we used a typewriter. We didn't use technology. And then all of a sudden Facebook comes up, and then you have all these things that surround the average person. And I rejoice when I see these words, because it's something where I know I could get myself out there, but I don't want to be like the average folk. I don't want the popularity. I like to.
but the difference here is that people who don't have attained like the realization, the true realization, when they reject things, it's a different story. But those who have attained the realization, when they reject things, it's true completely true knowledge. The difference is that what is rejected by those people who have realized the truth with true knowledge will never ever accept it again, will never welcome it, will never appreciate it again for the rest of life. But the people who have not, the people who reject things without true knowledge will reject, will not appreciate the mundane things, will not welcome those things temporarily.
Okay.
On a later time, they will appreciate it again. They will welcome it again. Because they didn't have the true knowledge. Once the true knowledge is very well established, it will never go away. So that's the life of the Buddhas, Arahants. So this is beautiful.
It is. And Bhante, I just want to add, if I may, is it possible, is this illusion for me, or is it because I decide I'm not watching TV, I have it in my basement, I decide I'm not going to follow the norm? And is it possible the dark force tries to come in and I don't want to use the word haunt, but try that temptation of those that are
No,
wanting to
definitely,
change and learn Dharma?
if we see when we are involved in any action, if we see the increase of unwholesome qualities in us, then we should avoid that. We should not get involved in that.
Okay.
And when we are involved in something, when we engage in something, if we see the growth of wholesome qualities within us, then we follow that. That's how we distinguish between what should be associated with and what shouldn't be associated.
And I believe it's more than just the preceptors. It's like virtues. It's like those morals, ethics, and values.
Yeah, it's about anything.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, sorry, would it be like the aggregates of clinging for consciousness, where it's like a magician's trick, and you're really amused and want to look at the magician's trick until you know how the magician's trick works, and then you lose interest in it? Is it more that as we grow, we start to see the illusion and we become less interested in what the trick is.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens with true knowledge. That's what is happening with the true knowledge. The magician cannot display any more tricks. So the consciousness is likened to a magician. Where is the consciousness? It's not far away. Consciousness is when we see things, the eye consciousness. When we hear things, ear consciousness. When we smell things, nose consciousness. When we taste things, tongue consciousness. When we touch things, body consciousness. When we think thoughts, mind consciousness. So this consciousness, all the magical tricks have been fully realized by the enlightened beings. So they see everything without that magical illusions.
Bhante, also, would you agree that we're going against the stream? Because when we become more distanced by these illusions and the sense faculties, we're not like the ordinary people in the world, because we are now going against the stream in our path, because most people like entertainment and movies and all these other hindrances that are surrounding us every day. But when we are distancing ourselves from
No,
that,
we cannot say. It depends on the individual. Some people have come to us and they also have disconnected from the world, but they are not going against the world.
Well, but in the Noble Eightfold Path, that's where it leads to, right?
Those who
truly practice it.
Yeah, truly practice the Noble Eightfold Path are the only ones who go against the
stream,
the current. Now, Buddha appreciates the bliss of renunciation, bliss of seclusion, the bliss of peace, the bliss of awakening. And Buddha explains that I experience all those things without trouble or difficulty whenever I want. But those people who have no idea about this spiritual happiness will enjoy the filthy, lazy pleasure of positions, honor, and popularity. Right? And then Buddha concludes with these amazing, insightful teachings. What you eat, drink, chew, and taste ends up as excrement and urine. This is food's outcome. Isn't it powerful? The entire world appreciates food, drinks, right? All these things. Here, the Buddha has appeared in this world. This is Buddha's realization. What you eat, drink, chew, and taste ends up as excrement and urine. This is its outcome. This is the second outcome. When loved ones decay and perish, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress arise. This is its outcome. People like to find delight. People like to get attached to their loved ones. They have no idea that they are associating the source of sorrow, lamentation, pain, and sadness. They have no idea. But Buddha have already realized. So Buddha teaches his disciples, do this frequent reflection. What is the reflection? I have to be separated from my loved ones and beloved things, because Buddha doesn't want us to cry, experience pain and sadness in the future. Buddha is the great being who wants us to experience happiness always. When Buddha says that we are going to cry in the future. Buddha didn't like it. If you love somebody, you don't want that person to cry or be sad. That's the true compassion. So Buddha saw when we are attached to loved ones and beloved things, we are going to cry one day. We are going to be sad. We are going to get upset. So Buddha in advance taught this. When loved ones decay and perish, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress arise. This is the outcome of attachment. This is the outcome of attachment. When you pursue meditation on the feature of ugliness, on the feature of loathsomeness, on the feature of impurity, revulsion at the feature of beauty becomes stabilized. This is the outcome of asubha meditation. This is the outcome of the mindfulness on impurities of the body. When that meditation is well developed, you don't find delight in those objects, in those things in the body that is in the nature of impurity. That is the outcome of a well-developed asubha bhavana. Buddha teaches again, when you meditate observing impermanence in the 6 fields of contact, which is the 6 sense bases, revulsion at contact becomes stabilized. This is the outcome of practicing the impermanence on the 6 sense bases. You don't find delight in contact. You don't find delight in the eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. You just see the impermanence of internal sense bases, external objects, and the consciousness, 6 classes of consciousness. You understand the impermanence, so you are contented with what is available. When you meditate observing rise and fall, the arising and passing away in the 5 grasping aggregates, form aggregate, feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, volitional formations aggregate, and consciousness aggregate. If you practice this meditation of impermanence arising and passing away, revulsion at grasping becomes stabilized. This is the outcome of practicing the impermanence of Panchupadana Khanda, 5 aggregates of clinging meditation. That means your mind does not delight in holding on to things, clinging to things. That will be the result of that meditation. Very insightful, right? Very deep Dhamma. You should make notes of these. Oh, you should print in big letters so and put somewhere you can see all the time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So this is Nāgitasutta from the Numerical Discourses, Book of the Fives. We are very fortunate to listen to those words of detachment, renunciation, right? You remember those beautiful words that are appreciated by enlightened one? What are those beautiful words? Bliss of renunciation, beautiful word, renunciation. Seclusion is a beautiful word, right? Not find delight in assembly, gatherings, crowds, but practicing meditation in seclusion, right? Buddha, even though Buddha had thousands and thousands of disciples, sometimes large gatherings come to see the Buddha. Buddha teaches out of compassion, I would teach them. But as soon as my Dhamma talk is finished, I will go back to my seclusion. It's very different from the ordinary mind, which is always like longing for fame, popularity, publicity, praise. It's very different. It's very different. It's with limitless compassion, Buddha would teach the Dhamma to big groups. But as soon as the Dhamma talk is finished, Buddha would go back to the meditation.
Bhante, with the normal mind, seclusion is a punishment. When they put prisoners in seclusion, it's actually for the normal mind, it's a punishment.
Mm. Yeah, that's the danger of the normal mind, right? Normal mind. The bliss of peace, the bliss of awakening, beautiful words. A very powerful sutta again, right? Rob, you have a question?
Yeah, I think you may have just answered my question, but I was just thinking of the story and thinking about it in terms of like the teachable moment with that with the noisy crowd at the or unwholesome crowd at the gate. We're just thinking about it in terms of like a teachable moment. Would that have not have been a teachable moment? Go to that crowd and explain the difference between wholesome and unwholesome.
Maybe Buddha did that. Maybe Buddha did that after this conversation.
Right.
But this was a very good lesson for Nāgita Bhante. Because he's the one who was like discussing about this with the Buddha.
Right. So maybe he did grab a hold of that teachable moment.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes groups of monks would come to see the Buddha, and again they are noisy. The visiting monks talking to the resident monks, and then Buddha would ask about that, and then Buddha would not accept them. Buddha would not welcome them, and instead Buddha would ask them to leave the monastery. And that was a very good lesson for those monks, and they would respectfully leave the monastery, and then they realized their mistake. They wanted to make the Blessed One happy, so they practiced the path.
Would they have left with an explanation or without?
Yeah, with an explanation.
With an explanation. Okay.
And they went back to where they were living and start practicing the path. They realized their mistake and all became enlightened monks.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, Buddha saw them with the divine eye, and Buddha wanted to go and see them.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Bhante.
Harry?
Thank you, Bhante, for allowing me to share or share my what do you call this? My thoughts. Well, after listening to what the other Kalyanamitas were discussing about several things, okay. So I personally thought that it would be very difficult for us, or even the lay person, to avoid or to escape from what they see, what they hear in the surrounding, because all of this, all of those external, including our senses, we see them all the time. I think the most important, like what Bhante used to tell us, is we have to be mindful. We have to use we have to break the bond. Okay, so the what do you call this? The connection, the cleaning thing, the attachment, and then we are different from the ordinary people in this sense, right? Because most people have this depend on this, on the feelings involved and others. So my point is, we cannot really avoid seeing beautiful things or hearing nice music. It's really it's everywhere. So, but we can embrace, but then the important thing is not to attach and not to always crave on it. I think, and be mindful and always think that this is temporary. Okay. So there is, like Dante said, the impermanence, like what we just studied in a sutta. So that is my thoughts.
Mhm.
Thank you, Bante.
Anything else? Anybody has any?
Yes, Bante. If you have strong habit energies and you have no control over when they come into your mind and they take over your mind and wreak havoc, and then you can see it happening, you know it's happening, you can only sit back and watch. How can we control those strong habit energies that are coming and all the time and bothering your thoughts? I mean, I know anicca anatta dukkha, right? Ultimately, no attachment, because it all ends up in suffering, right?
No, it takes lives and lives for some people.
It's very tough, Bante. It's not
Right.
easy.
Because those were like embedded
Mhm.
in the depth of our life.
Yep.
In this long
It's so
journey.
tough.
In this
Mhm.
long journey. So we cannot, without a powerful support of good karma coming from past lives, and without a sharp wisdom,
It's so hard.
it's not easy for a person to abandon them or to change the behavior pattern in one day. Maybe for some people it may take not years but
Lifetimes. Lifetimes.
Yeah. So, but it's again, it's the noble eightfold path that would change our habitual pattern, habitual emotions, defilements. Is the noble eightfold path. We should have confidence in the noble eightfold path and nothing else.
Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay. Any other questions? Sumana, you have a question?
Thank you, Bante. I just wonder, with the fame, can we use fame as to promote Dharma
Fame to promote Dhamma?
instead of seeing fame as something bad?
Like you mean a monk is famous and he can use that fame to promote?
Yeah, yeah.
If it does not lead to the increase of unwholesome qualities, if it leads to the growth of wholesome qualities, that's the path you can follow. There's no harm. There's no harm of associating with something if that supports the growth of wholesome qualities. That's the criteria. In the Buddha's discourses, there are some suttas about famous monks who hold the wrong view. So the people think, oh, this monk is very famous. Many people respect this monk. Let's go and listen to him. Because of the fame of that monk, many people would go to him and become his disciples or followers, but that monk would teach the wrong Dhamma. And Buddha teaches many people fall into trouble. They are in danger. So that means not always the good people become famous, right? Bad people also become famous. But normally people have this conclusion: if somebody is famous, we should follow that person. We should listen to that person. See how many people respect him. How many people like that person? So why don't we like that person? That's the kind of narrow thinking or conclusion of ordinary mind. So that happens again and again in the world.